Welcome back to On Right Podcast here. You have Elijah alongside Grant. Glorious weekend for us Michigan fans here. Sitting high, 12-0. Went down, whooped some, Buckeye ass down in the Horseshoe. Got another Big Ten championship game coming up this week versus Purdue. I think they're 8-4. I'm just overly excited. We didn't even have to really get into the Purdue all that much yet, but just,
Yeah.
kind of what are your, now that we've had a couple of days to process this victory, a couple of days to, just see all the glory that we're getting. Kind of how do you feel about
hmm Yeah. I think I'm still in shock. I'm still just like, I'll be honest, still trying to like process like what I saw. I mean, I'll say I'm not surprised by like what happened because we've been watching that happen to different teams. I mean, I was surprised by the lack of resistance when it started to get the way that it did. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's what we've been um, all season long, just from like a second half team. And yeah, obviously the thing this time around was that them deep balls it was hitting. That's pretty much it. And you and I talked quite a bit about you know how Harbaugh. People were just irritated about the offense. We were just wondering like why it was so vanilla. Why there's so much going on. And I think we both talked about how earlier on in the season it's like this might not be necessary to he probably just wants to save things. And I feel like they just threw out all the stops and very successful. And I just think that's like championship pedigree. That's championship type football. Just being able to adjust on the fly. Heisman candidate goes down and out of nowhere to make the correct adjustments. Backup comes in, does what Edwards did what he did. Yeah, I'm proud. I'm like a proud uncle right now.
it?
Like it was just impressive. It was just crazy. It was good to see.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm beyond ecstatic. It was a surreal moment watching it happen. It was a surreal feeling afterwards. The next couple, waking up the next day, I was joking with some of my dad and my brother. I was like, I woke up not even thinking it was game day again. I woke up
Yeah,
thinking that maybe I kind of dreamt all that because that's how picture perfect it was.
yeah,
That this team is, you just said the word resilient, and I think that's exactly what they are. We were trying to figure out who was quarterback shuffling, or we were trying to figure out who was quarterback at the beginning of the year shuffling. Uh, you lost one of the best tight ends in the country, or best tight ends in the Big Ten, tight ends in the country. Week
yeah,
1, 2, 3, and everything's just been rolling since then. And every time we've talked about this multiple times this throughout the year, but every time there's been a hurdle in front of us, whether we can't go down to Iowa and win, or whether we kind of started stumbling versus Maryland, or Penn State's going to come get us, or whatever the case may be.
yeah,
They were always one step ahead, and I really have to tip my hat to Jim Harbaugh, tip my hat to the players as well, obviously. But this is literally what we hired Jim Harbaugh to do, was to come here and put together this team.
yeah,
And I would say if you look at it from a big picture out, when we brought Jim Harbaugh in, we were looking for him to be the savior. We were looking for him to get us back to relevance. And then he did that fairly quickly. 10-2, 10-3 out the gate. Followed it up with another like a 9-4, 10-2 type season. Second year, but we were winning the big games.
yeah,
We uh, lost to Ohio in 2016. Heartbreaking loss. Probably shouldn't have been a loss. We can get into that, but that happened. And then we had the rest of the debacles over the next couple of years where we were getting lit up. And what we did, what Jim Harbaugh did, is construct a roster to go down there and manhandle Ohio. That's
hmm
that's what he's been on the job to do the last couple of years, and you've seen it come full picture, full circle. And that's literally what we're doing. Now they have to go and blow everything up and reconstruct and try to figure out a way to beat us.
yeah,
We went in there and became their kryptonite. Whether it's running the ball, building the right defense, putting the right defensive players out there, the scheme, all of it. I just think Harbaugh has done a fantastic job building a team, constructing a team to go beat Ohio in such become a national powerhouse.
yeah,
And and just to kind of wrap it all up, Ohio got punched in the face, and their game plan went out the window. They kind of look like a little bit of prima donnas. They look like people who look like it's been always kind of given to them. It comes easy. And once that was not happening, you could see the panic in their faces. You've seen the crowd turn on them very early on. Michigan has been down at home to unranked teams, to not that good of teams, and the crowd stays in it. They don't turn their back on them. They believe in the team. They were shook. And I think that's why the fan base is waving echoes and so much of getting rid of the coach and what are they going to do and how are they going to find a way to try to get back relevant. And I just say that this is all great to see. And I look at we needed that quarterback and we got that, and the defense has finally found a way to slow up Ohio. I think they're personally trying to be a little too sexy. That's probably Ryan Day's problem. Is he thinks he's down in the Pac-12 or Big 12 or something, and forgetting the run game, forgetting the grit players,
the important things.
Yeah. So with all that, I mean, we're built to last. We look like a real championship team. No matter who's on the field, stepping up, multiple levels, multiple waves of players at every position. I mean, we're built to last.
Yep. Yeah, no, I think just to sum all that up, I mean, biggest thing for me is just I just love this so it's two words, it's culture and identity. So I just feel like, you already kind of alluded to it. I saw a week how, CJ Stroud or Coleridge Bernard, how he I guess had the whole team fitted out in these red suits, for Saturday. I see footage of us, we get off the bus in hoodies and blue collar mechanic shirts, just,
Black
you look at things like that. Yeah.
It is true though. That's how we showed up.
Yeah. I saw, our old line was get off the bus in shorts and hoodies, sandals, whatever. And I mean, I even think back to saw, Ohio had a blackout game or something earlier this year and they had Marvin Harrison Jr. with an Apple Watch and Louis Vuitton shoes on. They don't ever Harbaugh never dared let nobody just kind of get away from, the team like that. And I just say, overall, I mean, it took a little while. Like you said, he brought us to prominence. He just wasn't doing a great job of beating the teams he was supposed to be beating. I just give him, I think every Michigan fan at some point was asking for him ask for his head in some way, shape, or form.
I was on this podcast.
You're right. Yeah, call it what it is. We was asking for
maybe right early, before the season started in 2021. We went in. Go back and watch some of those. We were on the ice of he's on the hot seat. He needs to get this done. We were sitting there at 7-0. Neither one of us are believing. So I think he has done a lot to build that trust with the fan base and just kind of recenter himself. Cutting the salary, giving our way to the community. And then locking in and getting the shit done.
Yeah, it was just crazy because you watch him go through his ups and downs while he's trying to bring us back. So it's kind of like these fighting the NFL rumors and everything. I mean, I'm just I just give him a lot of credit because I think I was reading a couple articles over the weekend, and one thing that I read was a couple of years ago, remember how we would run the ball, multiple tight ends. We tried to start passing the ball more when, Gaddis kind of showed up. And then, now you've seen us kind of go right back to this just smash mouth, power running game, about 58-42, run to pass now. And we just look like how he had Stanford rolling back when, and I think that's where he was just I just got to kind of tear it down to a certain extent, just build it back up. I think he, it's kind of cool. He has this unique relationship with his brother being in the NFL. I mean, you can look at them on, also on Saturday, look at them on Sundays, and you're pretty much seeing the exact same thing with just different, some modifications here and there. And I just love that identity. It's we, they say Ohio, they built off of just, receivers, track meets, and we're built off of line of scrimmage. His identity is O-line, D-line, tight end. That's really where his bread and butter is at. And,
I agree. And let me interject. I agree. And let me interject real quick. I think you're making a great point with the identity. And that identity is what got us this victory.
Right.
Whether the run game is what everybody was talking about or not, obviously those two major runs happened at the end of the game.
Yeah.
We got those passes off because Ohio State knew we could run it down their fucking face.
Yeah.
That's why they had 9 dudes in the box, 1 safety, 10 dudes in the box, no safety. It
In their
was
mind.
yep.
Yeah.
So we played that as about as picture perfect as you can.
Mm-hmm.
And it started with obviously we had to hit those passes. And we said on the last podcast, if we pray to God that he hits all the ones he's missed over the last several weeks, and by God he did, and and that's exactly what we needed. And I think that confidence could catapult us a lot moving forward.
Yeah.
I think that identity of the run game is what opened all of that up. Ohio State, you could tell they were saying they are not going to
Run the
put
ball.
200 yards, 250 yards on us, and we did without even really trying.
You did in one half.
Yeah, we did on more or less 2 plays.
Yeah, 160 on 2 plays.
Yeah. So I think that identity is going to put a fear in lots of people's hearts. And then when you're able to do that, I mean, what are you going to do at that point when when they're basically betting you to throw? Like you cannot throw on us. We're guaranteed, and then you do that. So I think that is you know, and you talk about how he kind of had to reel it back in and rebuild it. I think we had a lot of those pieces there. We just didn't know, like you said, what we wanted to be.
Right.
Harbaugh came in, and he's going to run this NFL offense, and we can't find a quarterback. And then Gaddis comes in, and we got Shea Patterson, and
all these great receivers.
Yeah, all these great receivers, high ranks, and it kind of doesn't work, And I would say all of that, and then Joe Milton, we're going to do this option shit, and I think we were really, really trying to figure out what we were going to do, and then in that process, we able to land a quarterback that can kind of fit multiple molds.
Yep.
And brought him along very well. I think that is a chapter book on how to bring along a good young quarterback. We didn't throw him into the fire necessarily last year, but he did play big moments. He had some big time falls, whether he fumbled versus Michigan State, and then he played all the whole second half versus Georgia, got thrown into the fire, and had a major game. When you were there as an 18-year-old, going to Ohio, it probably doesn't seem quite as bad. But if he wouldn't have had it under his belt, that is a hell of a lot different. So I think, and then just to kind of ease him into this year, they didn't say, all right, he's a starter, 50 passes in a game. I think they've done a great job of saying the bread and butter is the run game, and ease him in. Not to say 2 years from now that he ain't, throwing that ball all over the field and it's the offense a little different because we're in that
we have that flexibility
to be able to do that because we brought him well. But I mean, and the last thing I have to say, the only bad thing about this entire weekend is I cannot feel bad enough for Blake Corum. Like my man would have won the Heisman this weekend.
Yeah.
But if he would have had one of those
25,
just one of those Edwards carries and 10 other yards for 10 carries the rest of that game, he would have won the Heisman. You know what I mean? Like just that highlight alone and, being average the rest of that game. Right. So I cannot, I really do feel bad for him. I mean, that is a moment of change in history, a change in trajectory for his life. And, this is a real, no other way to say it, fucked up situation. So that's the negative to this whole thing. And I'm hoping that he can come back this year and, maybe put together a championship type run.
Up that draft stock a little bit.
Up the draft stock, get loose in the playoffs. Not that this is any close to Heisman, but little national championship MVP or something might not be bad. As a secondary choice. So
right.
Yeah. I mean, that's really what I'm hoping for.
Right. No, I feel you. I mean, that was gonna be one of my next points I was gonna make too. Is just you wish that because I don't not really looking. I was going to kind of talk more about Purdue later this week, but I was hoping maybe he could at least kind of sneak back in there, and they kind of just do it to where Caleb Williams did what he did while Blake wasn't playing. That's just that was kind of end all be all. But I mean, I just think at the end of the day, man. I mean, to me, I'm just like. For me, I just hope this is something that can be stabilized. I mean, this is, I don't know about you, but I mean, I would say this is probably the best Michigan team I've seen since like probably that 06 team, or even like, like the teams that Braylon Edwards was on back in like the early mid 2000s when he was going to the Rose Bowl. Like it was like, clockwork pretty much. I mean, this team would beat down some of these other teams by a couple touchdowns. like Ohio or Michigan, like in the past like 4 or 5, 6 years. So,
No, this
it's
team.
just and it's like I love it too because it's like I just always, I know we've always talked about how this team's just built from the inside out, O line, D line, and just everything else. Like, but if you can just have it real tight in there and just like real stable and just real like just really physical, just in the trenches, like everything else will take care of itself. And I just think too, it's just I don't know. I'm laughing at some of the even the new defensive coordinator that they hired, and I mean, he looked like Don Brown in the flesh. I mean, like you were looking at some of these, like when you start seeing like these like cuts on like Twitter and just these replays and how it's 3rd and 8, and he just has 9 guys just around the line of scrimmage. I mean, it was like taking candy from a baby. I'm keeping like that's just what it felt like. Like yeah. I mean, JJ did what he had to do to get the ball, the ball a couple different times and make some moves, make sure he got the ball to the players, but like. They also, it was just super aggressive with the run. And then this is crazy. I just flipped at halftime to where they had to start worrying about the pass. And that's when we started to, O-line started to oppose their will. So it was just great to see it unfold like that. And I'm just glad that we didn't get away from the run. Because that was something I was concerned about as well. We just continued to just keep that in there, keep that rolling.
Yeah. No, we played them like a fiddle. I think even though the run game wasn't working that well in the first half, we had to continue to do it to keep them in that damn stupid defense.
Yeah.
So
right.
we had to run the ball to keep them in that, the single high safety, to no, just whatever the hell they thought they were doing.
Yeah.
And I think that was perfect. I think we knew what we were doing. We were passing the ball enough to be able to move the ball, occasionally squeezing off a decent run, but keeping them in that defense.
Yep.
And then once they changed out of that to stop the pass, we unleashed. So I think that was you couldn't have asked for a better game plan. And yeah, I mean, I mean, I'm blanking on their D coordinator name, but he was brought there because of what happened last year. Yeah. So I think that is a straight punch in the face.
Right. To me, it makes me because it's funny because where he came from, I was kind of doing a little research on him and basically found out that he just had like a very like senior and like very like experienced defense that was like 5th. But prior to that, like his rankings in total defense, like mid-30s, 40s, like it.
Yeah.
I don't know. But like to me, I'm like, okay, maybe they thought that he had Ohio State talents, maybe he can make something happen. But like I said, I mean, it was just when we was watching Don Brown just trying to play man defense, cover people on drag route. I mean, we were literally doing what they used to do to us to a certain extent. And yeah, it's just crazy to see the tables turning like that. And shout out to we didn't even talk about the defense. We could be on here all night. Shout out to the defense. I mean, there's just so many different plays where I thought they went after Sanders still, did his thing.
That play go down in history. That PB. I had that touchdown wrote in my head. I'm like, oh, you got one.
Right. That was where I'm like, okay, they'll get that, go for 2, but like 5-point swing, or 4-point swing. Just right there where they had to kick a field goal is something that was so out of character for them.
Yep.
But like that, I mean, he came from literally the opposite hash and chased that dude down and took that ball last second. I just love how I think it was like earlier in the drive when Michael Barrett just smacked the running back on that little they gave him the first down even though he didn't catch the ball.
Happened a couple times.
But I feel like for me, like those 2 plays, that's where I feel like for me, like I'm like, oh, this is like it was that touchdown, Michael Barrett's hit, and Sanders still all in the span of 8 game minutes. Where I'm like, okay.
Yeah. No, so I think you're right on spot with a lot of those, and I think so they had their scripted plays that first drive, and not gonna lie, it made me sit up in my seat a little bit. I was, okay, we hadn't been drove down on like that all year, so that made me sit up in my seat a little bit. I mean, probably not even 2 minutes off the tape, so I was like, all right,
it was great.
I mean, there was that very questionable thing that nobody talks about, that false start long Marvin Harrison pass, but that's always going to happen when you're down there. Little things like that. And but we weathered that storm as well, because there was a couple of bad first down calls, I thought, as well. A couple little tiny things like that. But overall, I thought all things considered, a pretty fair.
We had some calls I didn't think we would get.
Yes, the pass interference. Yeah, but
2 or 3 of them.
Yeah, I 100%. But they just weren't turning around. If they would have even
Yeah.
attempted to, they would have gave it to him. But I mean, that's besides the point. Just stick on the defense here. I thought so. They had them scripted plays right off rip. And then I'd say first quarter, I was kind of like, are we going to not try to get pressure? It was just like we were dropping 9 and playing all type of crazy coverages. But I think we had a game plan with that as well. I think we were trying to fill them out a little bit. We knew they weren't going to try to run all that much, even though they were working it in. And then by the end, we looked like our normal defense where, we're applying pressure. We're rotating. We're all, flying to the ball, things like that. And I think the defense, got us some points stolen from them. I mean, they really, that was a fumble. I don't know how much time was left, but not much, when, Stroud fumbled. I mean, that would have been a little 52. Defense would have got a touchdown. My man picked it up and standing there by himself. So I just think in general, I tip my hat to that defense as well. That was the one thing where
and I think like that's what I was
people were most scared of, that we can get lit up.
Right. Yeah, and I agree. I think that's what I was even like, before you jumped on here, how like, I mean, it just went from, CJ, I feel like he was seeing the field really well to where like, Minter, and shout out to Minter. McDowell was great. I think Minter has showed a lot more secondary improvement. Like, I feel like it helps have Will Johnson too. I'll say that. But like, kind of compared to the last couple of years, I feel like we really improved on the second, in the secondary this year. But I was gonna say, I mean, I feel like it went from like Stroud, just like targeted Marvin Harrison Jr. a couple times, and then like he started just changing up them looks, and that's where he started patting the ball. That's where he's getting off sync with his receivers. I mean, he went at Harrison a couple times, and like, first of all, Will Johnson said that'd be enough of that. One of them plays, I do think overall, like if we didn't give up that, I hated how is what it is. We blitz that safety from like,
oh my God,
from like 11 yards out. If we don't do that, like,
I agree. I was mad about that. I mean, it is what it is. But if you're gonna blitz that safety, you should probably already have him like halfway there.
Yeah,
like you're not gonna get there in time. Like what I mean? But I mean, that's the one time that we kind of got caught slipping.
Or at least do that with like Will Johnson. Like I can't believe I'm saying a freshman, but like.
No, I agree. I mean, you just talk about. So I mean, everybody was tipping hat to Will Johnson, and he's gonna be a stud. And I'm relating him to another player that was thrown into the fire as a freshman and the defensive back, and that would be Dax Hill. I don't remember who he was playing or who he was attempting to guard, but I remember one time in particular when we had him out there and he got burned for like an 80-yard touchdown pass his freshman year. I don't know if you remember this. I want to say it was maybe in a bowl game, but maybe possibly versus Ohio. But one of those things where I'm not saying Will Johnson is that much more talented than him or not. But when you put players in good positions and you don't have them out there on islands versus future first-round picks, things look a little differently. So that's something that I just say the improvement of the defense and just finding a way to become their kryptonite and just making them look like like you brought them back down to earth. And I think no other team that we're the only team that could do that. We're the yin and yang of each other. And it takes us to knock them off and vice versa. So I think that we're built to last, and I think it's going to be a fun. I think they've made this that they've showed the world why this is the best rivalry. I mean,
I agree. Yeah, I think we can probably put a button on it with this. Kind of talk Will Johnson, a freshman. We had Kenneth Grant, Mason Graham, Colston Loveland, C.J. Stokes. Sure, there's a couple other freshmen that have played some pretty significant, had some pretty significant playing time. I mean, that's 6 guys right there that,
6 guys. And then, I mean, these aren't freshmen, but JJ,
Colson,
Edwards are all sophomores.
Yep. I mean, there's a lot of,
that's 9.
Quite a few starters.
That's 9 dudes that are going to be here for at least 2 more years. So, I think, that's the real key. I think I read that we lost 12 of our 22 players to the draft or something like that, or 11 or whatever it was. It was like
12 out of 22.
Yeah. So
and I think
and then to reload. And also keep in mind, this is supposed to be Ohio State has a upperclassman quarterback. They have star-studded receivers all over. They have this is the year where they're supposed to get it done. I mean, I don't even know who they're back. I mean, I'm sure they have another one in line somewhere. But I mean, this is their guys, and this is supposed to be more or less a rebuild, or maybe we couldn't live up to it again, and we're doing it all over again with a new cast.
Right.
So yeah, no, I agree.
No name defense. Yeah.
No, go blue, man. We look phenomenal. I can't wait to watch up Purdue, and then hopefully, I mean, we're gonna get into this, but we got to get the number one. That I think we deserve it. I think if I mean, I'm not the first one to say this, but if we had SEC across our chest, it would not be up for the debate. I think you got to get a Big Ten our respect, and I may sound crazy with this, but I would love to see another matchup versus us in Georgia again. I'd see.
Yeah.
I think we are a different team, a much better, well-rounded team, and I really do think those are the best two teams in the country here, and hopefully we get an opportunity to prove that. And yeah, but I do think we deserve that number one.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we'll see what. Like I said, we'll dive in later on this week to talk Purdue and talk a little more of the college football playoff. Have the rankings dropping tomorrow, so it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds. And
sure.
In the meantime,
hey, I'm throwing this at you, random as hell. Where do you think Ohio State gonna fall to?
Just 5.
5?
Yeah, I just think in the scenario, I think it's pretty much like USC TCU went out, they'll be out. If TCU loses, I think this is where it gets interesting. If TCU loses and like USC wins, I think they get into 4. I'll be honest, I don't see us going to 1 at all. Just being 100, like I just don't think they'll look at last year and be like, And then another scenario would be like if TCU lost and USC won, I think USC would jump to 3 and then Ohio would be 4. So I think there's definitely a chance to it's a potential rematch.
Yeah, I agree. We can do a whole another 20 minutes about this. I would be pissed if they put Ohio State anywhere near that because we didn't have a shot in 2016. We didn't have a shot in 2018.
Yeah,
I just dropped our ass to the fucking Capital One Bowl.
Right. Yeah, we were playing we were playing up at Little Caesars when that happened. Yeah, no, I get you. I feel you. I think this will this be the first year where Bama gets a nod with 2 losses? Like, do they think that 2 losses by 3 points on the road? Does that trump losing by 22 at the crib? Like, de facto playoff game, play-in game?
Yeah. Real quick. Team A, 12-0. 2 ranked wins. Versus 49-3 versus number 15 and 27-13 versus number 8. Team B, 12-0. 2 ranked wins. 41-17 versus number 7 and 45-23 versus number 5.
Yeah, I feel you.
No, I give it. I know. It's that SEC bias, but
yeah, that's the most unfortunate part of it, right? It's just like, they can, like you said, if it's us getting handed to it like we did, we'd be 9th. But then they'll look at that head to head, but they'll be like, well, this is what happened last year though. So, but either way, I think we playing house money. I take us. I take us against TCU. I welcome the rematch against Georgia. I'm on board for wherever. I think is, obviously got to take care of business. Coming up this weekend. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to seeing how things gonna shake out.
No, for sure. You got anything else?
That's all I got. Go Blue, beat Purdue.
Yes, sir. We'll be back at you Wednesday.
Yep.